Hi everyone, my name is Sijibomi, and I just had my baby girl, my firstborn child. Okay, so my husband and I had been married for, I honestly think at the time we had this conversation, I was already pregnant, but we had been married for about 6 months, and we just decided that, you know what, we'd like to have an addition to the family, someone to enjoy and join us in that love. We can easily express that love to each other and to someone new. So I remember we're seated there and we decided that we would actively try for a baby. Oh, he was excited. Before we actually got married, I knew he already wanted a baby as soon as possible because he had personal goals for himself. But for me, I think I was quite hesitant, because of I wanted to settle into this marriage phase. I believe that it's important for the man and the woman to just enjoy themselves. That's a phase you don't get again. So I really wanted us to take our time. But after a while, I came around and I was not the one that really wanted a baby. So he was very, very excited. Well, I have mixed feelings because now you have to consciously plan your time, try to spend time together, go out together. Now it's usually either or. So it's either he goes out and I have to be at home, or, we have to put a lot more effort than we usually would have into making sure that we spend some time together. I won't lie, it comes with its own challenges as well, but like I said, I had mixed feelings. So that's the negative. But the positive is when you realize that you actually just had an addition to the family and somebody that you can both love together. So it kind of changes your priorities. But, it's all about balance, making sure that we don't lose that time together and also making sure that we spend some time with our newborn. I can't explain the feeling. It's more of a feeling where you just know that I I want to be complete. Not complete. I don't think that's the right word. You feel so much love in your heart and you just want to pour that love out beyond your partner. That's the best way I can explain it. And the reason why it's unique is because you know that this person, this individual belongs to, well, belongs is a strong word, but belongs to both of you, is a fruit of your love. I think it just gets to a stage in a union that you decide that, you know what, we just want to have an evidence of our love, and that's what children really are. So I think it was more of a feeling, you just know at that point. Yeah.
I've never heard that expressed like that.
Well, okay, that's the way I saw it. People just expect that, okay, once you marry, next thing, children. But I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel like, okay, that's the next step. It wasn't all my life. All my life, I did things based on how I felt, just feeling that this is the right moment, not because it's expected. Society expects you to. And I think that adds more meaning to it. So even when it gets difficult, your reason. Your reason wasn't because everybody else wanted you to or everybody else expected you to. Your reason was because you chose to. You decided that it was time. And, yeah, that's it. I think that's more important. I felt like it would be amazing because when you watch motherhood videos, people that share YouTubers and stuff like that, they were like, oh my god, it all made sense. It was all worth it in that moment. So I'm like, okay, they said this is how it should be. This is how it should be eventually. So I just knew that in that moment it will all make sense. That's what I felt going into the process. Well, the symptoms, I think I was feeling like a jagaban. I just felt like, okay, I've got this. When the morning sickness hit me and the nausea, that's actually when I started suspecting, when I started getting dizzy on public transport or any form of transportation or the other. That was my first. But somehow I just felt like I won't have that. So when the symptoms hit, especially nausea and throwing up as well, puking. So those two, they dealt with me, especially in the first trimesters. At that point, I struggled a lot because food is important. I like food. I like good food. So I couldn't eat well. I lost weight and all of that. So it came with its own difficulties, if I'm going to be completely honest. And it's not always nice in the moment. You'll be asking yourself, who sent me? But yeah, once I passed that stage, that was the first trimester. It became easier, and then it became, I could enjoy my bump. I could enjoy the privileges that come with being pregnant. You don't have to stand on queues and stuff like that. They are privileges. So I missed that. I'm like, but yeah. Then moving on to the second trimester, it was quite easy for me. The nausea and those symptoms ended with the first trimester. So the second one was just really chilled. I was eating as much as I wanted, with caution, because you don't want to blow up, all of that. And then third trimester was also hard because by then she was quite big and heavy. She's a heavy, chubby baby. So the bump was heavy. It came with back pains, strains everywhere. In fact, the entire spine, was hurting and all of that. But my husband was quite supportive because occasionally he would help me carry the bump and stuff like that, which is it's always a huge relief. But yeah, so each phase has its own, it comes with its own difficulties, I'll put it that way, but it varies. Some women experience all of those symptoms in the last trimester, all of that. But yeah, that's it. So, well, I don't know if it's unconventional because I don't have a lot of people that, are in my circle that just had babies, but I personally enjoyed using hot water bottles. That really helps with the pain. And also, funny enough, I was using hot water bottle and ice pack. So the ice pack was for my head, the hot water bottle was for my back. So yeah, I think that was it. Because I didn't do much. I didn't put in so much effort into, I felt like, okay, it's a timed phase. No matter what, it come to an end. So I just tried to enjoy as much as I could and endure as much as I could because I knew that there was an end to it. It's not like a lifetime pregnancy or something. Yeah, so I didn't do much. Okay, yeah, I also tried to get, I bought a pregnancy pillow. That really helped because I sleep on my back. I've been sleeping on my back since I was a baby. So that was the hardest part for me because especially towards your second trimester, you won't be able to sleep on your back anymore. It's not advisable. You can if you want to, but it's not advisable. So I had to learn how to sleep on my side, and that was a struggle. So I bought things that I felt would make my life easier. But because I also knew it was a phase, I didn't want to buy too many things and then they become useless after the pregnancy. So I just tried to make myself as comfortable as possible and, receive as much support as was available at that time. Yeah. So when you're should I use the word independent? Because people have ruined that word. But when you're used to taking care of yourself, getting it done by yourself, it's very hard to ask for help, even when the help is available in your face every day, every time. So at some point, there were certain things my husband didn't want me to do, but I would have done them before I remember that, he didn't want me to, things that involve bending down because they're not really healthy when you're heavy. Anything could happen. But I'm just so used to doing them anyway without necessarily asking for help that I struggled with. So that's what I mean by receiving help, understanding that it's okay to be, to not be able to do it for a particular period of time. It's okay. To walk was a bit strenuous, to stand up, to sit down. So that's what I mean by receiving help, because if you have to, I struggled within myself for a while because I want to be able to do these things. I want to be able to do these things. I don't want to have to ask for help. But I had to come to terms with the fact that asking for help doesn't necessarily mean, it's not a weakness. It's not you being, I don't know, it's not a weakness. It's okay to ask for help, even when you're not pregnant. It doesn't make you less of a human, and it doesn't in any way diminish the achievements or your accolades, basically. So you don't have to prove that you're what you're not. There's nobody that is judging anybody regarding pregnancy, especially. It's not about, were you able to do this when you were pregnant? No, that means you didn't. It's beyond that. It's the journey that is important and having your baby at the end of the day. Yeah. So, first of all, the feeling of it getting hard is quite complicated because you can't really share with certain people especially when there are people that have been waiting for a baby, you start seeming ungrateful. And, I feel like people might judge you like, oh, you're supposed to be grateful. Do you know how many people will kill to be in your position? They don't really acknowledge your feeling in that area. But that being said, I feel like I was able to, it was mostly prayer. I think that's the summary of everything, prayer and worship. So I struggled with it. I struggled with not being able to do certain things. I prayed about for God to give me strength. He's the one that brought the baby. And I'm like, if you're going to, I know, this is going to stretch me. You know me above, beyond anybody else, even my partner. So I need you to give me the strength to go through this phase. And he did. There were hard nights, there were hard mornings. And then the next day or later in the day, it's easier, especially towards the third trimester. I struggled with strength, being able to even get up from bed and do certain activities. There were days I didn't, and I just chose to, lay there and have a good day to myself. And there were days that I just thought, what, God, I need to do this thing. I need to get this thing done. We need to prepare for the baby. So I need you to give me strength. And strength just comes. So that, I think, was just prayer, really. In so many ways. I can see it change me. I can see God working on me through this experience. But first of all, I don't joke with my sleep. Even my husband knows I must get my 8 hours of sleep. Okay, maybe not 8 hours, but I must get a sound, good number of sleep, good number of hours. So, that, of course, has gone out of the window. I usually have a very stressful day if I don't have enough sleep. But now I've learned to function and, give love, just show up, basically, despite not having enough rest. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, and it just makes you want to become the best version of yourself. She's still a baby, she doesn't really know anything that is happening, but you just want to be a better person. Generally, I want to be a better person even before I became a mom, but it has put a timeline to, I need to get my act together faster. You want to present the best version of yourself to your kids. They will still see you mess up here and there. I mean, we're all humans and we have flaws, but you don't want to have too many of those moments because you don't want to scar this person. So you pray. I pray that, okay, God, help me to get past these things. Help me to work on me and help me to become a better version of myself. Do you get? So I've learned to manage my emotions, or I'm learning. I'm learning. Generally, I'm learning to manage my emotions better because babies can frustrate you. They're crying for no reason. They don't have a voice that they can, use to express how they're feeling. So you have to figure it out. And when you try everything, it's either food or diaper or this or that, and everything is not working. They're just crying. Maybe they're throwing a tantrum. It can get really frustrating. So you have to learn to manage. At times I just have to take a deep breath and just, okay, so what do you want? Just try. And so I think that's something I'm really learning. Yeah. So I learned that I'm actually stronger than I thought I was. And I have higher tolerance of pain than I thought I did. That's something that really shocked me. And then I also learned that, it just made me feel like I could do anything I put my mind to. Like I suddenly became Superwoman in my head. I just felt like if I could go through this, and I came out at the end of it. Of course, there's the God factor, but then it just made me feel more determined to do things. And yeah, it just made me feel like I could take the whole world down. I don't know, that's the best way I can put it. And, I also, because usually I get tired easily, especially before pregnancy. And even though I was tired as a result of pregnancy, I also had to show up for work, show up for meetings. So it stretched me, and it made me realize that, because it was while I was pregnant, I resumed work from the beginning, from the onset. So it made me realize that no matter what I'm dealing with, I still need to show up for certain things in my life. So usually if I'm having a bad day, especially when I'm a student and, you can choose whether or not you want to do your project that day, I'll just shut down everything else for that day and just have it chilled, watch movies and all of that. But as a parent, or in this phase of my life, I can't just choose that. Even if I'm having a bad day, in quotes, I still have to show up. I still have to do certain things regardless. So that's something I learned in that phase of pregnancy as well. Yeah. Yeah. If you had asked me this question 2 weeks ago or a month ago, I'd have probably said no. But I think it's for pregnancy, it's the result that makes it worth it. Not the phase, not the journey. It's your baby and the love you get to share with that baby. So I wish I could skip through the pregnancy part for another baby and just have the baby already. Yeah, just that. But yes, I would gladly do that again, just because of the end result, not because of the journey. Okay. Well, I won't say unexpected because I knew that at some point she was going to kick.
Oh, yeah.
So I won't call that unexpected, but I didn't expect it to feel the way it felt. Because that's the first sign that, there's life inside of me. You just go for the scan, they tell you that there's a baby. The pregnancy test tells you there's a baby inside of you. And that as well as the heartbeat, when I heard a heartbeat for the first time, that also, that feeling of knowing consciously that there's a life growing inside of you was, I won't call it unexpected because I knew at some point I would get to hear a heartbeat, but I didn't expect it to feel the way it felt. It made me so emotional. Gave me the motivation to want to do it well and want to give the best I could. So I actually recorded the heartbeat at the clinic on my phone, just audio recording, and I just listened to it every time I got discouraged or every time it became extra hard. So it was also a form of motivation for me. It just brings you to that consciousness of the fact that God is building a life inside of me, and this life will go on to become every great person now was once in the womb of somebody. So just knowing that there's so much God wants to do with her, and he's doing it through me. He chose me to bring her into this world. And it just blows my mind, honestly. Yeah, that's it. I don't think there's anything that can compare to it. It just makes you feel privileged. So, okay, like I said, it was first, second, third trimester, and then it wasn't much of the pain. The pain was usually, that's in the phase of pregnancy, it was usually just backache here and there, especially in the third trimester, because that's when the baby's heavy and big. But then when the contraction started, so I was contracting for about 2 days prior to when they actually eventually, because they don't admit you until you're about 4 centimeters dilated. So personally, I had been having contractions like 2 days prior and I couldn't sleep. There was a point I had to sleep on my knees, bent over the pregnancy ball. So if there was a way to have the baby without all of that pain, I would gladly sign up, like sign me up for it. Well, there is actually, that's where surrogacy comes in. But for me, I enjoyed having my baby in my arms, and it was also a test of my strength. I know I usually run away from inconvenience as much as I could, but this was something that I had to face head on, and it made me realize how capable I was. So the pain was a lot. I tell people that's the most painful experience I've ever gone through in my life. You could take anything to make it better, but eventually you still meet the pain. And when I was having contractions and I felt, okay, this is it. As they got the higher or the farther you go in your labor, the more painful it gets. That's why they admit you when you're about 4 centimeters dilated, because that's when they'll need to give you pain relief on the go, as either through injections or through your spinal cord, whichever way. But my point is, the when I think, okay, this is it, there's a higher or a deeper level of pain waiting. So it was a lot, but I'm actually happy I went through that experience. That's why I said that I felt like Superwoman when I was done, because it just made me feel like if I could go through this, I'm unstoppable. Like, with the help of the Holy Spirit, I can do anything I put my heart to. So, yeah. So first of all, I think if you're going to make that decision to crossover, let's just use that term crossover, you need to understand your reasons, like I mentioned earlier. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because of in-laws, not because of society, because they would only have, you're going to be a constant presence in the child, in the life of that child. Having a baby is not something that is not like school that you graduate from or masters that you can finish. Parenthood is a lifetime. We all pray that we're not going to bury our children. So as long as you're alive, from that moment onward, you would have that child in your life. Every other person that wanted that baby would most likely have either gone or not be in the presence in their life at that time, or as much as you, right? So you need to make sure that you're not doing it for in-laws or parents, because most parents want to become grandparents. That's the next achievement, and they want you to do it as quickly as possible before God calls them home. I was lucky; my parents didn't put me under pressure. In-laws didn't put me under pressure, but it varies with people. Some people have constant pressure in their lives. No matter what, make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, because that's very important. That is what will get you through the difficult seasons, and they will come both in pregnancy and beyond, right? Secondly, I think you should also prepare yourself regardless, because, it's a phase. I tell people that going into or the end of pregnancy is like, I saw a post somewhere, you put in sacrificing your life, like gambling your life as a mom for the life of your child. It can go either way. We all pray, and as Christians, I believe that God has blessed us with long life and all of that. But God is, nobody can question him. He chooses what he wants to do. So just make sure that you're prepared emotionally for whatever happens. You need to toughen up emotionally, because God is ultimate. He does what he wants. And you need to just make sure that your spirituality, your relationship with him is stronger during that phase. And lastly, regarding buying baby things, prepare early, start early, especially if you're not so buoyant or you're a salary earner like me and my husband. Make sure that you get a list of the basic things. When I did my research, as long as baby eats, sleeps, plays, and basically is healthy and alive, that's what matters. So do your research regarding products. Luckily, in this part of the world, everything is standardized. Like, no matter what brand you get, you're getting good quality. But do your research about products, and basically do the best for your baby, because you're the sole decision maker alongside your partner over everything the baby does for the rest of their lives. So it's just expand your knowledge. That's just what I'm going to put it regarding everything. Expand your knowledge, read more, learn more, watch more. Don't just isolate yourself in your own circle. And the best time to do this is during the pregnancy phase, because every single day of having a baby, you're making decisions regarding everything. Even regarding labor, you make those decisions during pregnancy, what type of pain relief you want to use. My point is, you're not going to have that much time to make that decision on the spot. So it's better you do your research ahead of time, so that then the things that you learned, even though they didn't make sense then, will come in handy in that moment. I'm not sure if I made sense, but yeah, I think that's 3. Okay, so the fear is always there. Fear of miscarrying, because previously, miscarriage usually happens towards the beginning. But recently, I've heard of people that actually miscarry towards the end as well. So there's that fear of it not being worth it eventually, because like I said, what made it worth it was the baby. So it could be difficult thinking that, okay, if the baby is not there, what do I have, to show for it and all of that. But the fear was constantly there. The fear of, not making it out of the delivery room, because that's also something that sadly a lot of women don't do, or the baby not making it alongside with you. Basically, it's a testimony for the mom and every member of the family to come out alive. That's a major testimony. So, like I said, I'm a spiritual person, so prayer helped me and worship. But on the day of the labor, I had made a covenant with God, and I told him that I'm not going to exchange my life for the life of my child. So at some point, there were complications. My BP started dropping. And I started losing consciousness. And they're like, okay, just breathe. That's when you know that as much as breathing is a reflex action in quote, now when they tell you to breathe consciously in that moment, it's harder and more painful and requires more effort to breathe. And at that point, I couldn't even open my mouth. I couldn't exactly pray. I could only communicate with God in my heart. And I told him, at that point, I hadn't even carried her. They had given her to my husband, but because of the situation of things, I couldn't carry her. And I told God, this is not going to be an exchange of lives. So, and I meant that because when you've known someone for a while, you can take their word for it. You guys can have a covenant, you have a relationship. So that's it. I know my God and I have a relationship with him. And I know my covenant I have with him. So I just reminded him, even though he didn't need reminding, but I just reminded him that this thing is not looking like the way we talked about it. So you better do something now. You get that kind of thing. And to God be the glory, eventually they were able to manage the situation. So that fear is always there, is even till now. You just don't want to do anything wrong. You don't want to make any mistake. So, but faith always supersedes fear. So for me, that's what works. Prayer and just trying to trust God and rely on him to teach me and lead me where to go. So I can't really, that's what works for me. And I don't know, basically. Okay, so when I found out I was having a girl, I was happy in a different way because I knew that this phase I went through, she would have a one-on-one encounter of that. And it made me feel happy in a different way. So I hope that you decide to have a child so that you can experience that phase. And I hope it goes beautifully for you. More importantly, I hope that I would have taught you everything that I needed to teach you. I hope that we, as in your dad and I, wouldn't have restricted you in any way or limited the work of God in your life. I hope that the goal I have, yesterday was Mother's Day, and my the caption was that I would always love you and I'll always be home to you, meaning that no matter what you ever face, even if you go against what I said and you get into trouble, I would always be a call away. And that is genuinely the kind of relationship I want us to have, where even when people typically would not call their moms, you're comfortable enough to call me. So 25 years from now, I really do hope that I was home to you. And every time you ever got into trouble or felt like trouble was looming, you were able to call me and rely on the fact that I will show up for you. And I wish you all the best in becoming a mom like myself. And by God's grace, you'll be a better mom than I was. Thank you. And I love you.
I don't want to record anything else. This is just perfect.